Right now, somewhere in the world, someone you will never meet is quietly building an advantage over you. They are not louder, luckier, or more connected than you are. They are simply learning something today that you have chosen to ignore. That small difference may seem harmless in this moment. One idea learned today will not change a life by tomorrow morning, but knowledge compounds quietly. And the person who educates themselves every day becomes dangerous to mediocrity. While many people wait for opportunity, the disciplined mind prepares for it. While others scroll endlessly through distraction, the serious learner sharpens their thinking. Day after day, idea after idea, their awareness expands while others remain the same. 5 years later, the difference becomes impossible to hide. One life advances with clarity, power, and direction. The other wonders when success will finally arrive. The difference began with a simple decision: to educate the mind every single day. Chapter 1. The Daily Education Advantage. The direction of your life is determined largely by what you choose to learn each day. Many people move through years believing experience alone will eventually make them wiser, stronger, and more capable. Experience can teach powerful lessons, but experience without reflection often produces repetition rather than progress. A person may work for 20 years and still remain mentally stagnant because learning never became deliberate. What separates ordinary outcomes from extraordinary achievement is not luck, privilege, or natural brilliance. The difference is the quiet discipline of educating yourself every single day without waiting for permission. Daily education is not an academic exercise reserved for classrooms, institutions, or formal qualifications. It is a deliberate commitment to expand your understanding while most people remain satisfied with familiarity. Every day the world shifts, industries change direction, and opportunities appear where preparation already exists. Those who continue learning recognize these shifts early because their awareness grows alongside the changing environment. Those who stop learning slowly lose visibility until opportunities pass them unnoticed and unclaimed. When you educate yourself daily, your mind becomes sharper, calmer, and more deliberate in decision-making. You begin to see patterns others miss because your knowledge connects information across different fields and experiences. Problems that once appeared confusing gradually reveal structure because your mind holds more useful frameworks. With every new idea absorbed carefully, your thinking becomes more structured and your judgments become more reliable. You stop reacting emotionally to challenges because understanding replaces uncertainty and confusion. Many people underestimate the quiet strength of daily intellectual discipline because its rewards appear gradually. They search for dramatic breakthroughs while ignoring the steady accumulation of knowledge shaping their future. Yet real transformation rarely arrives suddenly without preparation, quietly built through months or years of learning. Daily education compounds slowly until your perspective becomes noticeably different from those who stopped growing. By the time results become visible, the internal change has already been developing for a long time. The mind that learns every day becomes difficult to intimidate because knowledge strengthens inner stability. Uncertainty loses its power when your understanding expands and your thinking becomes methodical and structured. You begin to approach problems with patience because you trust your ability to analyze unfamiliar situations carefully. Confidence no longer depends on external approval because preparation has quietly reinforced your internal foundation. This quiet certainty cannot be borrowed from motivational speeches or temporary emotional excitement. Daily education also reshapes how you measure time and responsibility in your personal development. You stop asking whether learning will produce immediate rewards within the next week or month. Instead, you begin evaluating decisions based on how they strengthen your thinking over the next decade. That shift alone separates disciplined individuals from those trapped in short cycles of reaction and distraction. You become patient with growth because you understand that preparation always precedes meaningful opportunity. Consider the reality faced by people who neglect consistent intellectual development throughout their adult lives. They remain dependent on outdated knowledge acquired years earlier during formal schooling or early employment. As industries evolve and new technologies reshape systems, their understanding gradually becomes less useful. Opportunities move toward those who adapted early, while they struggle to interpret unfamiliar developments. The frustration they feel is rarely caused by lack of effort, but rather absence of continuous learning. Daily education protects you from this slow decline because your thinking evolves alongside changing realities. You remain relevant because your knowledge expands while circumstances around you continue transforming rapidly. Learning every day is not simply about gaining information, but about preserving your adaptability and usefulness. A disciplined mind becomes capable of interpreting change rather than resisting it with outdated assumptions. This ability quietly places you ahead of those who stopped learning once comfort appeared. The practice itself does not require extraordinary resources, wealth, or privileged access to elite institutions. What it requires is a deliberate decision that your mind deserves daily investment and structured development. Books, lectures, research, thoughtful conversation, and reflection all become instruments of disciplined learning. The important factor is consistency rather than intensity, because growth responds to steady intellectual engagement. When knowledge becomes part of your daily rhythm, the results accumulate without needing constant attention. You must also understand that educating yourself daily demands personal responsibility without external supervision. No authority will force you to maintain curiosity once formal schooling no longer controls your schedule. You decide whether your evenings are spent strengthening your mind or surrendering attention to empty distraction. Every decision quietly shapes your intellectual future, even when the consequences remain temporarily invisible. A person who values growth accepts this responsibility without complaint or negotiation. When you commit to learning daily, you also strengthen discipline in areas beyond intellectual development. The act of returning to study regularly trains patience, focus, and deliberate attention to complex ideas. These same qualities influence how you manage work, relationships, leadership, and long-term personal direction. The disciplined mind rarely remains confined to one aspect of life because structure spreads naturally. As your thinking becomes more ordered, your actions begin reflecting the same steady organization. Daily education, therefore, becomes more than a habit because it forms the architecture of your future potential. Every concept understood clearly strengthens the foundation upon which later knowledge will securely rest. Every question explored seriously expands your awareness of possibilities previously hidden by ignorance. You gradually recognize that growth is not an occasional event, but a continuous responsibility. Your mind becomes a workshop where ideas are tested, refined, and applied with deliberate care. This advantage cannot be easily imitated by those who approach learning casually or inconsistently. Occasional bursts of enthusiasm rarely replace the quiet discipline of daily intellectual investment. Consistency builds depth, while inconsistency produces scattered fragments of understanding without lasting structure. The person who studies daily slowly becomes formidable because knowledge organizes itself into coherent systems. Over time, that structure produces judgment, clarity, and leadership grounded in genuine understanding. The truth remains simple and direct, even though many people attempt to complicate it unnecessarily. If you educate yourself every day, your life will gradually move toward greater capability and opportunity. If you neglect your intellectual development, circumstances will eventually expose the limits of your preparation. The decision belongs entirely to you because learning responds faithfully to attention and disciplined effort. Daily education quietly shapes the future long before the future becomes visible. The advantage begins the moment you accept responsibility for the continued development of your own mind. Chapter 2. The mind that grows every day. Your mind becomes stronger, clearer, and more capable when learning becomes a daily expectation rather than an occasional activity. Growth within the mind does not occur accidentally through passive exposure to information scattered throughout daily life. Real intellectual expansion requires deliberate engagement with ideas that challenge assumptions and refine perception. When you choose to learn every day, your brain gradually reorganizes itself around curiosity and disciplined attention. Neural pathways strengthen through repetition, just as muscles strengthen through consistent physical exertion. The result is a mind increasingly prepared to process complexity without retreating into confusion. At first, the changes may feel subtle because intellectual development rarely produces immediate dramatic sensations. You may simply notice that questions arise more frequently when observing situations previously accepted without examination. Your thinking slows slightly because you begin evaluating information rather than absorbing it automatically. This deliberate pace is not weakness, but evidence that your awareness is expanding carefully. A growing mind learns to pause before judgment, allowing deeper understanding to emerge from the careful observation. Consistency is the element that transforms learning from occasional improvement into continuous cognitive evolution. Each day of study builds upon the previous day, reinforcing patterns of disciplined thought and inquiry. The mind gradually expects stimulation because curiosity has become part of its natural rhythm. Without daily engagement, however, intellectual momentum weakens and attention returns easily to passive distraction. Your responsibility, therefore, lies in protecting the continuity of your learning process. When learning becomes daily practice, your perspective begins widening beyond narrow interpretations of familiar experiences. Ideas from different fields start connecting in ways that reveal patterns across business, leadership, science, and philosophy. You recognize principles operating beneath surface differences because your knowledge base continues expanding steadily. This ability to connect ideas multiplies insight because understanding rarely exists in isolated fragments. The disciplined mind organizes information into structures capable of supporting deeper reasoning. Another important change occurs in how you respond to uncertainty and unfamiliar challenges. People who stop learning often experience discomfort when facing situations that exceed their existing knowledge. Their confidence weakens because they depend heavily on familiar routines and predictable circumstances. A mind trained through daily learning approaches uncertainty differently because curiosity replaces fear. Instead of retreating, you examine new problems carefully, trusting your capacity to understand them. This shift transforms your relationship with complexity, allowing you to engage difficult subjects without avoidance. Topics once considered intimidating gradually become approachable because you possess strategies for learning effectively. Patience strengthens because intellectual discipline teaches you that understanding develops through steady effort. Frustration loses its intensity when you accept that mastery requires time and deliberate repetition. Your thinking, therefore, becomes resilient rather than easily discouraged by temporary confusion. Consistent learning also sharpens awareness of opportunities hidden within ordinary circumstances surrounding your life. Information gained through reading or study often reveals possibilities that others overlook entirely. You begin noticing patterns within industries, markets, and communities because knowledge expands your interpretive framework. Opportunities rarely announce themselves clearly to individuals whose awareness remains limited by stagnant thinking. A growing mind recognizes emerging possibilities earlier because preparation has quietly strengthened perception. The expansion of awareness also improves how you communicate ideas to others around you. Clear thinking produces clear language because understanding organizes thoughts before they reach expression. When you speak or write, your ideas carry structure because your mind has practiced disciplined reasoning regularly. People respond differently to communication grounded in knowledge rather than speculation or vague opinion. Your words gradually carry weight because they reflect reflection rather than impulse. Another consequence of daily intellectual growth is improved decision-making across both personal and professional areas. Decisions rely heavily on interpretation of available information and understanding of potential consequences. A mind trained through continuous learning processes information more carefully before reaching conclusions. You evaluate alternatives methodically instead of reacting emotionally to immediate pressure or uncertainty. This approach produces decisions grounded in reason rather than temporary excitement or anxiety. Learning every day also strengthens humility because knowledge continually reveals how much remains unexplored. The disciplined student recognizes that understanding expands endlessly across countless subjects and perspectives. This awareness encourages respect for complexity while discouraging arrogance rooted in partial knowledge. Humility does not weaken authority, but strengthens credibility, because thoughtful leaders acknowledge the limits of certainty. Your willingness to keep learning demonstrates commitment to truth rather than attachment to personal pride. Over time, the mind that grows daily becomes noticeably different from minds left unattended. Thought processes become structured. Curiosity becomes habitual, and reflection becomes natural rather than forced. You approach conversations, decisions, and challenges with a depth shaped by consistent intellectual engagement. This difference rarely appears through dramatic announcements or public declarations of personal development. Instead, it reveals itself quietly through the quality of your reasoning and the steadiness of your judgment. People around you may eventually notice that your perspective carries unusual clarity and composure. They may interpret this difference as natural intelligence or extraordinary talent developed since childhood. In reality, the change emerged through repeated acts of disciplined learning, practiced without seeking recognition. Your mind simply adapted to the environment you created through daily education and thoughtful reflection. Growth occurred because you treated intellectual development as responsibility rather than occasional entertainment. The process never truly concludes because a growing mind recognizes learning as a lifelong commitment. Each new understanding expands the horizon of questions, waiting patiently beyond current knowledge. Rather than feeling overwhelmed, the disciplined learner experiences quiet satisfaction within this endless expansion. You accept that development continues throughout life because growth itself becomes deeply rewarding. The mind thrives when it remains engaged with ideas that challenge and refine its perception. Your responsibility remains simple, though its implications influence every dimension of your future. Protect the habit of learning each day with the same seriousness given to essential professional obligations. Guard your attention carefully, because distraction erodes the mental environment required for thoughtful study. Choose information sources that expand perspective rather than merely entertain or confirm existing assumptions. Every day of learning strengthens the architecture of a mind prepared for greater responsibility. A mind that grows daily eventually becomes one of your greatest strategic advantages in life. Chapter 3. Knowledge as a daily discipline. Learning becomes transformative only when knowledge is treated as a disciplined responsibility rather than occasional curiosity. Many people admire knowledge yet resist the structure required to acquire it consistently. They read briefly when motivation appears, but abandon study when distractions compete for attention. Such inconsistency prevents knowledge from organizing itself into meaningful frameworks within the mind. Information remains scattered fragments rather than coherent understanding capable of guiding intelligent action. Discipline, therefore, becomes the essential bridge between curiosity and true intellectual development. A disciplined approach to learning begins with the recognition that knowledge demands daily attention. You cannot expect your thinking to evolve significantly if study occurs only during moments of convenience. The mind adapts to routines established through repeated behavior over extended periods of time. If learning occurs regularly, the brain begins expecting and supporting deeper intellectual engagement. If learning remains irregular, distraction quickly becomes the dominant pattern governing your attention. Treating knowledge as discipline means establishing protected time dedicated exclusively to intellectual development. This time must be respected with the same seriousness given to professional responsibilities or essential obligations. When learning becomes scheduled rather than spontaneous, consistency begins shaping the architecture of your thinking. You remove the need for emotional motivation because commitment replaces temporary enthusiasm. Discipline ensures that progress continues even when energy or interest temporarily declines. Another essential element of disciplined learning involves selecting material that challenges rather than comforts your thinking. The purpose of study is not simply confirming ideas you already accept without examination. Growth requires exposure to perspectives capable of expanding or correcting your current understanding. This process may occasionally feel uncomfortable because it forces reconsideration of familiar assumptions. However, discomfort often signals that meaningful intellectual development is actively occurring. The disciplined learner therefore approaches study with patience and seriousness rather than superficial curiosity. You read slowly when necessary, pausing frequently to consider implications of the ideas presented carefully. Reflection becomes part of the learning process because understanding grows through thoughtful examination. Simply consuming information quickly rarely produces the depth required for lasting intellectual transformation. True knowledge forms when ideas are processed deliberately and integrated into existing mental structures. Taking notes, reviewing key concepts, and revisiting important material strengthens this integration process significantly. These practices may appear simple, but they reinforce neural pathways responsible for long-term retention. When ideas are revisited repeatedly, they move from temporary awareness into durable understanding. This repetition transforms information from passive knowledge into practical intellectual tools. The disciplined student therefore values review as much as initial exposure to new material. Another aspect of learning discipline involves protecting your mental environment from unnecessary informational noise. Modern communication systems deliver constant streams of entertainment, opinion, and fragment commentary. While some information carries value, much of it competes aggressively for attention without offering genuine insight. A disciplined learner filters these inputs carefully to preserve concentration for meaningful intellectual development. Attention becomes a resource guarded carefully rather than surrendered casually to endless distraction. Your daily study should therefore include materials that expand capability across several important dimensions. Knowledge related to reasoning, leadership, economics, history, science, and human behavior strengthens strategic awareness. Such subjects build frameworks allowing you to interpret events with greater depth and clarity. When knowledge across multiple disciplines begins interacting within your thinking, insight multiplies quickly. You start recognizing relationships between events that others perceive only as isolated occurrences. This multidisciplinary awareness becomes increasingly valuable in a world shaped by complex interconnected systems. Economic decisions influence social conditions, technological developments reshape industries, and cultural shifts alter institutions. A disciplined learner develops the ability to analyze these connections rather than reacting blindly. Understanding context allows you to anticipate consequences before they become obvious to others. Knowledge, therefore, becomes not only information, but also strategic vision. Another benefit emerges gradually as learning discipline strengthens your capacity for sustained concentration. Modern environments encourage constant interruption through notifications, messages, and rapid entertainment formats. These patterns weaken attention by training the mind to expect frequent stimulation and immediate novelty. Daily study reverses this effect by teaching the brain to remain focused for extended periods. Your ability to engage deeply with complex ideas, therefore, improves steadily over time. Concentration itself becomes a powerful advantage because serious thinking requires uninterrupted intellectual presence. When attention remains stable, reasoning becomes clearer and insights emerge more reliably. A distracted mind rarely discovers profound understanding because its focus shifts before analysis completes. The disciplined learner protects concentration carefully because deep thinking depends upon mental continuity. Through practice, sustained attention becomes natural rather than difficult. Over time, knowledge accumulated through disciplined learning begins influencing behavior and judgment automatically. Ideas studied repeatedly shape your interpretation of events, even when you are not consciously recalling them. Historical knowledge may inform leadership decisions, while economic principles guide financial choices naturally. Psychological understanding may improve communication and conflict resolution across personal relationships. Your actions gradually reflect the knowledge structure quietly developed through consistent intellectual effort. The disciplined learner also understands that knowledge carries responsibility once it has been acquired. Understanding complex issues demands thoughtful application rather than careless or impulsive use. Wisdom emerges when knowledge is balanced with reflection, patience, and ethical consideration. This balance protects you from arrogance that sometimes accompanies intellectual achievement. True education refines character as well as intellect when approached with seriousness and humility. Eventually, the practice of daily learning becomes inseparable from your identity and personal standards. You no longer ask whether study is necessary because intellectual discipline has become normal behavior. Your mind expects engagement with meaningful ideas just as your body expects regular nourishment. Days without learning begin to feel incomplete because growth has become part of your natural rhythm. Knowledge transforms from external information into an integral element of your character. The conclusion remains clear and uncompromising for anyone seeking sustained personal development. Knowledge must be pursued deliberately every day through structured, disciplined intellectual engagement. Casual curiosity alone rarely produces the depth required for meaningful transformation. When learning becomes disciplined practice, however, the mind evolves steadily toward clarity and capability. Knowledge then becomes one of the most powerful forces shaping the direction of your life. Chapter 4. Feeding your mind the right information. The quality of your thinking is determined largely by the quality of the information you allow into your mind each day. Many people assume that all information carries equal value simply because it is widely available. This assumption quietly weakens intellectual development because the modern world produces enormous quantities of distraction disguised as knowledge. Not everything that captures your attention deserves a place inside your thinking. Some information strengthens clarity, discipline, and strategic awareness, while other information quietly weakens focus and judgment. If you wish to educate yourself daily with purpose, you must become selective about what you consume. Your mind functions as an environment where ideas take root, grow, and eventually influence your actions. Just as soil determines the health of the plants growing within it, your mental environment determines the quality of your thinking. If the mind is constantly filled with trivial commentary, shallow entertainment, and emotional noise, serious thought struggles to survive. If the mind receives carefully chosen knowledge, reflection becomes deeper and judgment becomes stronger. Your responsibility is therefore to cultivate the intellectual soil in which your future decisions will grow. Filtering information requires discipline because much of what surrounds you is designed to attract attention rather than expand understanding. News cycles compete aggressively for urgency. Entertainment industries compete for emotional stimulation, and social platforms compete for constant engagement. These systems are not structured primarily to strengthen your thinking or increase your wisdom. Their success depends on capturing attention quickly and holding it for as long as possible. Without careful awareness, you may consume large volumes of information that leave your mind exhausted yet unchanged. The disciplined learner approaches information differently by asking one simple but powerful question before engaging deeply. Will this knowledge strengthen my thinking, expand my awareness, or improve my judgment in meaningful ways? If the answer remains unclear, the information may not deserve your sustained attention. Your time and mental energy are limited resources that must be invested carefully. Every hour spent absorbing weak material is an hour not spent strengthening your intellectual foundation. Strong information sources share certain characteristics that distinguish them from superficial content. They encourage careful thinking rather than immediate emotional reaction to dramatic headlines or opinions. They present ideas supported by evidence, reasoning, and thoughtful explanation rather than loud assertions. They often require patience because complex subjects cannot be reduced into simplistic fragments without losing accuracy. This slower pace may initially feel demanding, yet it produces knowledge capable of guiding intelligent decisions. Books remain one of the most reliable instruments for feeding the mind with structured, meaningful information. Serious authors invest significant effort organizing knowledge into coherent explanations that readers can explore carefully. Unlike fragmented media streams, a well-written book allows your thinking to follow a sustained argument or idea. You develop the patience to examine concepts gradually, rather than rushing past them for immediate stimulation. Through this process, understanding deepens because the mind remains engaged long enough to process complexity. Scholarly lectures, thoughtful essays, historical analysis, and well-researched discussions also contribute valuable intellectual nourishment. These forms of information respect the intelligence of the audience rather than assuming constant distraction. They present ideas with depth, context, and nuance, allowing the listener or reader to evaluate them seriously. When such material becomes part of your daily study, your thinking gradually adopts similar discipline and clarity. Your mind begins reflecting the structure and seriousness of the knowledge it regularly absorbs. Another important aspect of feeding your mind wisely involves exposure to diverse fields of knowledge. Limiting your study to one narrow subject restricts the range of perspectives available within your thinking. History reveals patterns of human behavior that illuminate modern leadership challenges and societal developments. Economics explains the incentives shaping markets, institutions, and resource distribution across nations and industries. Psychology explores the motivations influencing decisions, relationships, and conflict among individuals and communities. When knowledge from multiple disciplines begins interacting inside your thinking, insight expands significantly. You begin recognizing that many problems share underlying principles regardless of their surface differences. This recognition allows you to approach challenges with flexibility and deeper analytical capacity. A mind nourished by varied intellectual inputs becomes more capable of interpreting complex environments. Your understanding of the world becomes layered rather than simplistic or reactive. However, selecting strong information sources requires more than curiosity, because misinformation often imitates authority convincingly. Certain voices present confident conclusions without providing careful reasoning or reliable evidence. Others simplify complicated subjects so dramatically that important realities disappear entirely from the explanation. The disciplined learner therefore evaluates information carefully before accepting it as trustworthy knowledge. Skepticism, guided by reason, protects the mind from absorbing weak ideas disguised as confident claims. Developing this discernment takes time because evaluating information requires intellectual patience and humility. You must sometimes pause before forming opinions until sufficient understanding becomes available. This restraint strengthens credibility because your conclusions emerge from examination rather than impulse. A mind trained through disciplined study becomes less vulnerable to manipulation or emotional persuasion. You begin recognizing when arguments rely on evidence and when they rely only on volume or repetition. Feeding your mind wisely also requires limiting exposure to information that encourages cynicism, confusion, or intellectual laziness. Constant negativity may create the illusion of awareness while quietly weakening motivation and clarity. Endless commentary on trivial disputes distracts attention from meaningful developments shaping the future. A disciplined learner remains informed about important realities without becoming trapped in cycles of unproductive consumption. Awareness must serve understanding rather than overwhelm it. Silence and reflection also play an essential role in nourishing the mind effectively. Information absorbed continuously without time for reflection rarely develops into lasting knowledge. The mind requires moments of quiet consideration to integrate ideas into existing frameworks of understanding. During these moments, connections appear between concepts previously encountered across different sources. Insight often emerges not during consumption, but during reflection that follows deliberate study. As your information diet becomes more intentional, the effects on your thinking become gradually noticeable. You begin speaking with greater clarity because your ideas are supported by structured knowledge. Your decisions show improved judgment because they are informed by broader understanding of consequences. Your confidence becomes steady rather than emotional because it rests upon preparation rather than impulse. People may observe these changes without immediately understanding their origin. The explanation remains simple even though the results appear profound. You chose to feed your mind carefully with information that strengthens thought instead of weakening it. This decision compounds daily because every idea absorbed thoughtfully contributes to future insight. Over time, the structure of your thinking becomes deeper, calmer, and more deliberate. Your mind begins reflecting the discipline you applied in selecting what it consumes. The information you feed your mind today quietly shapes the person you become tomorrow. Chapter 5. Learning faster than the world changes. The world moves continuously, and your ability to learn determines whether you advance with it or fall quietly behind. Throughout history, societies have experienced periods of transformation that reshaped industries, technologies, and social structures. In earlier centuries, these changes often unfolded slowly across generations, allowing people time to adjust gradually. The modern era moves at a very different pace because innovation now spreads across the globe with remarkable speed. New technologies appear, markets shift direction, and entire professions evolve within relatively short periods of time. To remain valuable in such an environment, you must develop the capacity to learn faster than circumstances change. Many individuals struggle not because they lack intelligence or a willingness to work diligently. Their difficulty arises because they rely heavily on knowledge acquired during earlier phases of their education. They assume that experience alone will keep them prepared for future demands without continued intellectual investment. However, when industries transform or new systems replace familiar ones, outdated knowledge quickly loses usefulness. The person who stopped learning years earlier suddenly discovers that the environment has moved forward without them. Adapting to change begins with accepting a simple but demanding truth about modern life. Your education never truly ends because the environment surrounding your work and responsibilities continues evolving constantly. Skills that once guaranteed security may gradually become insufficient as technologies and expectations shift. The disciplined learner recognizes this reality early and prepares accordingly through continuous study. Instead of resisting change, you develop the ability to interpret and respond to it intelligently. Learning faster than the world changes does not mean chasing every new trend appearing across industries. Such behavior produces confusion because not every development carries lasting significance or practical value. The goal is to strengthen your ability to understand emerging patterns and evaluate their potential impact carefully. When your mind remains active through daily learning, recognizing these patterns becomes far easier. Preparation allows you to move deliberately when genuine opportunities begin forming. Another critical element involves cultivating intellectual flexibility rather than attachment to familiar methods or assumptions. Many people resist new ideas because those ideas challenge practices that once brought success or recognition. They defend outdated approaches not because they remain effective, but because they feel comfortable. This attachment can quietly prevent adaptation, even when clear evidence shows that circumstances have changed. The disciplined learner remains loyal to truth rather than to personal pride or past achievement. Flexibility does not require abandoning principles or long-standing values guiding responsible behavior. Instead, it means adjusting strategies and methods while maintaining integrity and thoughtful judgment. You examine new information carefully, integrating useful insights without discarding foundational wisdom unnecessarily. This balance allows you to evolve intelligently rather than reacting impulsively to every new development. Adaptation, guided by understanding, becomes a powerful advantage in rapidly shifting environments. Learning quickly also requires efficient strategies for absorbing and organizing new information. The disciplined student reads actively, asks questions, and reflects regularly on how ideas relate to existing knowledge. This approach allows understanding to form more rapidly, because the mind integrates new insights immediately. Passive consumption slows learning because information remains disconnected from meaningful frameworks. Active engagement therefore accelerates intellectual adaptation when new subjects demand attention. Another valuable strategy involves learning directly from individuals who possess deeper experience or expertise. Mentors, scholars, and seasoned professionals often share insights refined through years of thoughtful practice. Listening carefully to such perspectives allows you to benefit from knowledge developed through sustained observation. Their experiences may reveal patterns and principles difficult to discover independently within a short period. Respect for wisdom, therefore, becomes an important component of learning efficiently. At the same time, you must maintain personal responsibility for evaluating the information you receive from others. Even respected voices may occasionally interpret events through perspectives shaped by earlier circumstances. The disciplined learner, therefore, listens carefully while continuing independent reflection and analysis. Your judgment strengthens when multiple perspectives interact thoughtfully within your thinking. This careful evaluation ensures that learning remains accurate rather than merely influential. Learning faster than the world changes also requires maintaining curiosity, even when responsibilities increase. As careers progress and leadership roles expand, many individuals gradually reduce time devoted to study. They assume that experience alone provides sufficient guidance for future decisions and challenges. However, the responsibilities of leadership demand even deeper understanding of evolving systems and environments. Continued learning becomes essential for maintaining clarity in positions where decisions affect many others. Curiosity, therefore, becomes a discipline rather than a fleeting emotional impulse. You deliberately seek explanations for developments occurring within your field and across related industries. Questions guide your study because they reveal areas where knowledge must expand to support better judgment. Every answer discovered strengthens the intellectual foundation supporting your responsibilities. Through this process, your awareness remains aligned with realities shaping the future. Another benefit emerges when you consistently maintain the habit of learning during periods of stability. Preparation built during quiet seasons allows rapid response when sudden change eventually arrives. Many people attempt to learn quickly only after disruption has already created urgency or pressure. By that time, their lack of preparation limits how effectively they can respond. The disciplined learner invests in knowledge continuously so that adaptation becomes natural rather than desperate. Over time, this approach produces a powerful strategic advantage across professional and personal environments. While others struggle to understand unfamiliar systems or developments, your mind remains prepared for analysis. You interpret new information quickly because it connects naturally with knowledge already present within your thinking. This readiness allows you to act thoughtfully, while others remain uncertain or hesitant. Learning, therefore, becomes not only personal development, but also strategic preparation. The ability to learn faster than the world changes is ultimately a function of daily intellectual discipline. Every day of study strengthens your capacity to absorb and interpret new knowledge efficiently. Your mind becomes accustomed to exploring unfamiliar subjects with patience rather than intimidation. Confidence emerges because preparation has gradually strengthened your intellectual adaptability. Change loses much of its threat when understanding grows alongside it. The world will continue moving forward regardless of whether individuals choose to grow with it. Your responsibility is to ensure that your learning keeps pace with the future forming around you. Chapter 6. From Information to Transformation. Knowledge becomes powerful only when it moves beyond awareness and begins shaping your actions, decisions, and character. Many people spend years gathering information without experiencing meaningful change in their lives. They read widely, listen carefully, and discuss ideas frequently, yet their behavior remains largely unchanged. This pattern occurs because information alone does not automatically produce transformation. True change begins when knowledge moves from passive understanding into deliberate application. Without action, knowledge remains potential energy that never becomes meaningful progress. The disciplined learner therefore treats knowledge not as decoration for conversation, but as instruction for life. Each idea absorbed through study carries a quiet question demanding serious reflection. How should this understanding influence the way you think, decide, or behave moving forward? If knowledge does not eventually affect your actions, its influence remains incomplete. Transformation requires the courage to apply what you learn, even when application feels demanding. The transition from information to transformation begins with honest self-examination. When you encounter an idea that reveals a better approach to leadership, discipline, or responsibility, you must evaluate yourself carefully. Do your current habits reflect this understanding, or do they contradict the principles you now recognize as valuable? This moment of reflection often produces discomfort because knowledge exposes areas requiring improvement. However, this discomfort is not a weakness, but an essential stage in genuine personal growth. Many people avoid this stage because it demands accountability for change rather than admiration for ideas. It is easier to discuss wisdom than to practice it consistently in daily life. Application requires adjusting routines, reconsidering priorities, and sometimes abandoning comfortable patterns of behavior. These changes rarely feel effortless because discipline always demands energy and attention. Yet, transformation never occurs without the willingness to move beyond intellectual agreement. The disciplined learner therefore approaches knowledge with the intention of integration rather than admiration. When you encounter a principle capable of strengthening your life, you deliberately examine how it fits into your daily conduct. Perhaps a concept about time management reveals that certain habits waste valuable hours each week. Perhaps a leadership principle exposes weaknesses in how responsibilities are delegated or decisions are communicated. These realizations become useful only when they lead to deliberate adjustment. Small adjustments applied consistently often produce deeper transformation than dramatic but temporary enthusiasm. You may begin by restructuring a portion of your day to protect time for study and reflection. You may change how you approach problem solving by gathering more information before reaching conclusions. You may adopt clearer communication practices when leading teams or managing responsibilities. These actions appear simple, yet repeated daily, they reshape behavior gradually and permanently. Another essential step involves revisiting knowledge regularly until it becomes part of your natural thinking process. Information encountered once may inspire temporary motivation, but rarely produces lasting behavioral change. When ideas are reviewed repeatedly, they begin influencing decisions automatically without constant effort. The mind gradually adopts them as internal standards guiding perception and judgment. Through repetition, knowledge moves from conscious effort into quiet habit. Transformation also requires patience because deep change unfolds gradually rather than suddenly. The disciplined learner understands that growth resembles cultivation more than rapid construction. Seeds planted through learning require time, attention, and repetition before they produce visible results. Expecting immediate transformation often leads to disappointment and abandonment of valuable practices. Patience protects the learning process from being disrupted by unrealistic expectations. During this process, you may occasionally encounter resistance from your own habits or environment. Old patterns of behavior may attempt to reassert themselves because familiarity always feels comfortable. People around you may question changes they do not yet understand or appreciate. These moments test your commitment to the principles you have chosen to apply. Transformation requires quiet persistence rather than public explanation or approval. Another important element involves aligning your goals with the knowledge you continue acquiring. Learning should not exist in isolation from the direction you want your life to follow. When knowledge aligns with purpose, each idea contributes directly to meaningful progress. Your studies become instruments supporting growth in leadership, professional skill, character, and responsibility. This alignment ensures that intellectual effort produces practical improvement. You must also recognize that transformation influences not only your actions, but also your identity. As knowledge shapes behavior repeatedly, it gradually reshapes how you perceive yourself and your capabilities. You begin seeing yourself as a disciplined individual committed to learning, reflection, and responsible action. This identity strengthens consistency because behavior now reflects who you believe yourself to be. The more your actions align with this identity, the more stable your growth becomes. Another benefit emerges when transformation becomes visible through steady improvement in judgment and results. Decisions become clearer because they rely on principles carefully integrated through study and reflection. Relationships improve because communication reflects patience, understanding, and thoughtful leadership. Professional opportunities expand because capability increases alongside intellectual discipline. These outcomes confirm that knowledge applied consistently produces tangible progress. However, transformation must remain grounded in humility because learning never truly reaches completion. Each improvement reveals additional areas where growth remains possible and necessary. The disciplined learner accepts this reality without frustration or discouragement. Instead, it reinforces the commitment to continue studying, reflecting, and refining behavior daily. Growth becomes a continuous process rather than a final destination. Over time, the distance between who you were and who you have become may appear remarkable. Habits once accepted without question gradually disappear as new standards replace them. Decisions once driven by impulse become guided by deliberate reasoning and structured understanding. Responsibilities once overwhelming become manageable because your thinking has grown more organized. Transformation occurs quietly yet powerfully through the steady application of knowledge. The essential principle remains clear for anyone committed to educating themselves daily. Information alone is not the goal of learning, because knowledge must eventually influence action. Ideas studied today must guide decisions tomorrow and shape character over the years ahead. When knowledge consistently informs behavior, transformation becomes inevitable. Your life gradually begins reflecting the wisdom you have chosen to practice. Chapter 7. The compounding power of daily knowledge. Small amounts of knowledge gained consistently possess the power to reshape your future in ways that appear almost invisible at first. Many people underestimate the impact of daily learning because each individual session seems modest. Reading a few pages, studying a concept, or reflecting on a principle may appear insignificant in isolation. The results do not produce immediate dramatic change or visible recognition from others. However, the true strength of daily education lies not in isolated moments of study, but in accumulation. Knowledge compounds over time, just as disciplined financial investment grows through consistent contributions. Compounding begins quietly because each idea learned becomes a foundation supporting future understanding. When new knowledge connects with concepts already present in your mind, insight deepens rapidly. The mind begins organizing information into structures capable of supporting more advanced thinking. As these structures strengthen, learning new material becomes faster and more effective. Your intellectual growth accelerates because previous knowledge multiplies the value of new insights. Consider the difference between two individuals beginning the same professional journey. One studies regularly, expanding understanding across relevant subjects every single day. The other learns only when circumstances demand immediate solutions to urgent problems. During the first months, their progress may appear similar because experience still dominates both paths. However, as years pass, the difference in accumulated knowledge becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. The disciplined learner develops broader perspective because daily study introduces ideas from multiple disciplines. Historical patterns inform leadership decisions, psychological insights improve communication, and economic understanding guides strategy. These connections allow the mind to interpret complex situations with unusual clarity. Meanwhile, the individual who studies rarely must rely heavily on limited experience and familiar assumptions. The contrast between these approaches becomes more visible as responsibilities grow. Compounding knowledge also strengthens creativity because the mind gains access to a larger network of ideas. Innovation rarely emerges from isolated thinking restricted to narrow experience. It often appears when insights from different fields combine to produce unexpected solutions. The more knowledge your mind contains, the more potential combinations exist within your thinking. Daily education, therefore, quietly expands the possibilities available when confronting difficult problems. Another effect appears in how quickly you recognize opportunities others overlook entirely. Knowledge accumulated across time sharpens awareness of patterns forming within industries and societies. You begin noticing early signals indicating shifts in technology, markets, or organizational structures. These signals remain invisible to individuals whose understanding has not evolved alongside changing conditions. Preparation allows you to act while others remain uncertain about what is occurring. The compounding effect also strengthens confidence because preparation gradually replaces uncertainty. When you encounter unfamiliar situations, your mind draws upon frameworks built through years of disciplined study. You may not possess every answer immediately, yet you trust your ability to analyze problems carefully. Confidence rooted in preparation remains stable, even during challenging circumstances. This quiet certainty often distinguishes effective leaders from those who hesitate under pressure. Another important aspect of compounding knowledge involves the gradual refinement of judgments. Each concept learned contributes another perspective for evaluating decisions and interpreting consequences. Over time, your mind becomes skilled at examining problems from multiple angles simultaneously. This ability reduces the likelihood of careless conclusions based on incomplete understanding. Better judgment emerges not from sudden brilliance, but from accumulated knowledge interacting thoughtfully. Daily learning also influences the quality of conversations and collaborations you engage throughout life. When your thinking draws from diverse knowledge, discussions become more thoughtful and productive. You contribute ideas grounded in understanding rather than speculation or emotional reaction. People often recognize and respect this difference, even when they cannot immediately explain it. Your intellectual preparation quietly strengthens your influence in professional and personal environments. The compounding power of knowledge also protects you from stagnation that affects many individuals later in life. Some people reach a stage where curiosity fades and learning gradually disappears from daily routines. Their thinking becomes fixed around earlier experiences and outdated interpretations of reality. As the world continues changing, their perspective remains anchored in the past. Daily education prevents this decline by ensuring that your awareness continues evolving. Another important benefit involves resilience during periods of difficulty or unexpected disruption. A well-educated mind contains frameworks capable of analyzing problems and identifying potential solutions. Instead of reacting impulsively, you examine circumstances carefully using knowledge accumulated over time. This approach often reveals paths forward, even during uncertain or challenging conditions. Preparation built through daily learning becomes a reliable ally when circumstances demand thoughtful response. It is also important to recognize that compounding requires consistency more than intensity. Occasional bursts of enthusiastic study cannot replace the steady rhythm of daily intellectual engagement. Growth occurs through repeated exposure to meaningful ideas over long periods of time. When learning becomes habitual, the accumulation of knowledge continues quietly, without requiring constant effort. Consistency, therefore, becomes the engine driving intellectual compounding. Eventually, the accumulated effect of years spent educating yourself becomes unmistakable. Your thinking carries depth, your decisions reflect careful reasoning, and your awareness extends beyond immediate circumstances. People may assume these qualities emerged naturally or appeared suddenly through fortunate opportunity. In reality, they develop through thousands of small acts of learning performed without seeking recognition. Compounding knowledge transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary capability. The principle remains simple, though its consequences influence the entire direction of your life. Every day of learning adds another layer to the foundation supporting your future decisions and opportunities. The investment may appear small in the present moment, yet its long-term value grows steadily. Over years, this compounding effect becomes one of the most powerful advantages available to you. Your responsibility is simply to continue adding knowledge day after day without interruption. Chapter 8. Becoming a lifetime student of success. True success belongs to individuals who commit themselves to learning not for a season, but for an entire lifetime. Many people approach education as a temporary phase limited to early stages of life. Once formal schooling ends or professional positions become stable, learning gradually loses priority. Responsibilities increase, schedules become crowded, and intellectual development quietly retreats from daily routines. This shift may appear harmless initially because experience continues providing guidance for familiar situations. However, over time, the absence of continuous learning slowly restricts growth and awareness. The disciplined individual understands that success requires sustained intellectual evolution across every stage of life. Circumstances change, industries transform, and responsibilities expand as years progress. The knowledge required to navigate early adulthood rarely remains sufficient for leadership in later decades. Those who continue learning maintain relevance because their understanding evolves alongside changing realities. Becoming a lifetime student therefore protects both personal growth and professional effectiveness. A lifetime approach to learning begins with the recognition that curiosity must be protected intentionally. Curiosity weakens easily when routine becomes comfortable and familiar patterns dominate daily life. Without deliberate effort, the mind begins operating on automatic assumptions rather than thoughtful inquiry. The disciplined learner resists this decline by continually asking questions about how systems operate and evolve. Questions open doors to discovery that complacency quietly keeps closed. Designing a personal system for continuous learning strengthens this commitment significantly. A system removes uncertainty about when and how learning will occur each day. You may designate specific hours for reading, reflection, and studying subjects relevant to your development. You may maintain a structured list of topics that deserve deeper exploration over time. Such organization ensures that learning remains consistent rather than dependent on temporary motivation. Within this system, reflection becomes as important as the acquisition of new information. Reflection allows ideas to settle within the mind and connect with knowledge already accumulated. During quiet examination, you begin identifying patterns, linking concepts across different fields. This process transforms scattered information into integrated understanding capable of guiding intelligent decisions. Without reflection, learning risks becoming shallow and easily forgotten. A lifetime student also values exposure to diverse perspectives rather than remaining confined to familiar viewpoints. Listening carefully to scholars, practitioners, and thinkers from various backgrounds expands intellectual flexibility. Different experiences reveal dimensions of reality that a single perspective cannot fully capture. When these perspectives interact thoughtfully within your thinking, judgment becomes more balanced and informed. Respect for diverse insight strengthens wisdom without weakening conviction. Another important aspect involves teaching and sharing knowledge responsibly with others when appropriate opportunities arise. Explaining ideas clearly often deepens your own understanding because teaching requires careful organization of thought. When you guide others through concepts that shaped your growth, the lessons become more firmly integrated. However, teaching must remain grounded in humility and accuracy rather than desire for recognition. The lifetime student remains aware that learning continues even while sharing knowledge. Maintaining this identity also requires protecting time from activities that weaken intellectual focus. Modern life offers endless entertainment capable of filling every moment of available attention. While relaxation has value, excessive distraction gradually erodes the discipline required for serious learning. The lifetime student manages attention carefully, ensuring that time remains available for meaningful study. Your intellectual environment must support growth rather than constant fragmentation. Another advantage of lifelong learning emerges in the stability it provides during different phases of life. Early adulthood often focuses on acquiring foundational knowledge and developing professional capability. Later years may emphasize leadership, mentorship, and broader understanding of complex systems. Continuous learning ensures that your mind remains prepared for each stage rather than struggling to adjust suddenly. Preparation built across decades creates unusual depth of perspective and calm judgment. Lifelong learning also strengthens resilience because intellectual growth encourages adaptability and thoughtful analysis. When circumstances shift unexpectedly, your mind remains capable of exploring unfamiliar territory patiently. You trust your ability to learn what is necessary rather than fearing situations beyond current knowledge. This confidence arises not from arrogance, but from repeated experience with disciplined study. A mind trained through lifelong learning approaches change as opportunity rather than threat. Over time, the identity of a lifetime student shapes not only your career, but your entire approach to living. Conversations become opportunities for discovery rather than contests of opinion or status. Books, lectures, and thoughtful discussions become companions throughout different seasons of life. Curiosity remains alive because learning continues offering insight into the complexity of the world. Your mind remains engaged, alert, and capable long after others have settled into intellectual inactivity. Eventually, people may observe that your thinking carries unusual depth and calm clarity. They may assume this perspective emerged naturally through talent or fortunate experience. In reality, it developed through decades of deliberate learning, practiced quietly and consistently. The lifetime student builds wisdom slowly through patience, discipline, and respect for knowledge. This path rarely produces quick applause, yet its rewards accumulate steadily across the years. The principle guiding this journey remains simple and enduring. If you continue educating yourself every day, growth never truly stops. Your mind remains open, your awareness continues expanding, and your judgment deepens with experience. Success then becomes not a single achievement, but a sustained pattern of disciplined development. A lifetime student of success understands that learning itself is one of the most powerful forms of progress.